Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Job Search Radio. Ta-da! So, networking is a topic I cover with some regularity. Boo! So, I do it because, frankly, it works. Yay! And in covering it, I do it in a different way with my guest on this show. I start off by asking, in person or online? And I'm not quite sure what to expect. I have my own opinion of it, but I think you'll find it an interesting show because Jill talks about a host of different subjects that I think aren't really covered with any regularity. So hang in there, enjoy this show, and join me in singing.
Are you looking for a new job or interested in leveling up? Job Search Radio is your go-to resource for insider tips on job hunting and growing your career. Here's your host, Jeff Altman.
My guest is Jill Hernstat of Hernstat & Company, a leading boutique executive search firm based in San Francisco. Jill, welcome to Job Search Radio. Great to have you on board.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeff. I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad that you're here, and folks, we're going to have some fun talking about networking. Now, I know that's counterintuitive. A lot of you folks don't enjoy networking, but we're going to make it real easy for you. So, Jill, let's just start off with a question. In person, online, which do you think works best? Which one do you think is the best thing that someone should do?
In person, for sure. Absolutely. It's like going out on a date with a guy and meeting him online. Everything should happen in person. If you can get a meeting with somebody just to talk to them over a cup of coffee, you'll make a big difference.
I happen to agree with you, and that dating metaphor is one that I use all the time, except I do it in the context of interviewing. But that's a different conversation. We'll get to that another time. So how does someone make that arrangement? What do you suggest someone does in order to set that meeting?
I think people need to attend different conferences. I mean, here there are so many tech shows that happen. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You get free passes, smile, talk to people, ask questions, go to seminars, just put yourself out there.
Conferences. So when I hear conferences, obviously I'm thinking of a professional market primarily. Would you happen to know if there are conferences geared toward non-professionals? I don't know if there are. Do you?
Ooh, that I do not know. That would be more like a job fair.
Ooh, job fair, thumb down. I'm not a big fan of those.
I know, thumbs down. But, we've got Oracle World, companies put up meetups, events. All these attract people.
Meetups. Do you happen to attend any of them in terms of, connecting in your work?
I do, actually. We do. We're involved. You find a lot of them on LinkedIn. People will post stuff on there when they're getting a group together. Some of my clients will host them at their offices to meet new people and talk about their products.
Interesting. So for a job hunter attending a meetup, what can they expect?
They can expect to learn, actually. Companies these days, it's very competitive, especially for our clients here in the Bay Area where everyone is hiring. It's a way for companies to showcase what they're doing, what makes them different. They love, and people will spread the word, bring your friends. They kind of make it a party.
Cool. So does anyone get hired at those moments, or is it basically you start making the connection and then you reach out to someone from the firm later, or they reach out to you?
Exactly. It's a first step to make different connections, and I always tell everybody, anyone you meet, you must follow up with an email, and then the meetings will begin.
So I'm going to be a little goofy here and say, so the email sounds something like this. Hello, we just met at the meetup.
And that's where you need to be authentic and make yourself stand out and bring something in from the conversation that you had with this particular person at the meetup.
Cool. So what I'm hearing you say is after you meet them at the meetup or any networking event probably, you drop someone a quick note referencing something from the conversation as like a reminder for that person because they've probably met a bunch of people. Do I have that right?
You do have that right. That's correct. And also networking, even outside of these formal set events, I mean, you can network like we discussed on an airplane. You never know who you sit next to. Always ask people, be friendly, ask them what they do. Start up a conversation.
So I think when we spoke earlier in the week, there was an airplane story you told. Would you be willing to share it with everyone?
Oh, sure, yes. I was flying to New York City, and I met a great gentleman from a storage company, and we started talking, and he was building out a sales team, and I told him, actually, I know somebody, and I sent him an email right when I arrived, followed up with him, and made an intro to him to my friend, and he actually became a client of mine.
Happens all the time. I have a similar story where I was in a flight back from, I want to say London, but it could have been Paris that time, where I was seated next to someone who owned a consulting firm. We had a great flight with one another. He called me a couple of days later, gave me a bunch of requirements, became a huge client of mine. And what it applies to you folks is you never know where you meet someone and when they can be the right person to help you. Matter of fact, folks, if you go back to one of my early shows on Job Search Radio, there's an episode with a guy named John Sampson. Might be the third or fourth show, but it's clearly one of the first 5 or 6. And John talks about philosophy number 1, get out of the house. Just start talking to people. Makes a huge difference. And instead of being modest and shy, just get out and about and start making everyone aware of what you do and being clear about understanding what they do and how they might be able to help you. Sorry for the digression there.
No, but that's absolutely true. I know what most people do at my gym as careers. And so I'm very social, and that's what I encourage people to be, is social, even at the gym, wherever you are.
So at the gym, what do you do?
Well, since I have a recruiting firm, I do a lot of the spin classes, and you see a lot of the same people, and so I just kind of strike up a conversation. And it just kind of happens that way. And I've helped some people find jobs, but at my gym, we're very interactive. My teacher kind of knows everybody's names, and so we all start talking.
And invariably starts over, they killed me today, right?
Exactly.
And then you segue.
That's right.
And folks, we'll be back with more from Jill in just a moment, but first my Job Search Insider tip for this show, which involves talking about change. Now, as a job hunter, to you it seems real hard to find work. It's talking to a bunch of, ugly ducklings hoping to find a prince or princess there. It's doing things that feel uncomfortable that you really don't want to do. And folks, I'm going to be impolite here and say, you just got to get over it and get on to the next step, because the longer you prolong the agony, the longer you stall, the more opportunities you're going to miss that you're really going to want, and there's no reason to put yourself through the pain of rejection unnecessarily. Using that dating metaphor, if you hold back on the blind date and wait for the second one, you may not get the second one. So, start working at making some of the uncomfortable changes that are going to allow you to be far more effective in your job search faster. And if that means getting a coach, get a coach. If that means calling someone and getting some inspiration from them, or doing jumping jacks before the interview to get yourself pumped up, do it. Just, get out of your own way and push yourself. So that's my tip for this show. Let's come back to Jill and pick up where we left off, which was talking about meeting people at the gym, meeting people at meetups, and, of course, doing things to schedule time with people up at their offices or for coffee we've spoken about so far. One of the I'm sorry, I forgot about the conferences. So the badges make things easy because everyone's name is there and the firm that they're with. Do you suggest people take down notes to try and circle back to recontact people afterwards?
Absolutely. The key is you need to stand out in the crowd. There's so many people at these conferences, and if you send an email to someone you met and follow up, you will stand out.
Because no one really does that, do they?
No one does that. They go, they meet people, that's it, and they expect to hear back from the person who they met, and that just doesn't happen. Conferences are crazy. We meet so many people, and we're taking in so much knowledge that we got to follow up.
It's kind of like the LinkedIn connection request. I don't know how it is for you, but I get lots of LinkedIn connection requests, and that's the last time I hear from someone. What does that do for anyone anyway? You send a connection request, you're now connected to them, and there's no relationship effort that someone puts into the connection. What do you expect someone's going to do? So I can see why you have the preference for in-person because it involves building the relationship that online people don't really do a thorough job with LinkedIn about. But LinkedIn is a great tool. How do you encourage people to use LinkedIn as part of their networking?
I'm a huge LinkedIn fan, and I always tell people, join groups, put yourself out there, be knowledgeable, and read so you know what is happening. If you're interested in a specific company, read about different other competitors of theirs so you can go in and be super knowledgeable or make yourself stand out in a cover letter. They have groups that you can go in and join and be part of and start up conversations and try to get a meeting for someone that started a conversation. And just, a cup of coffee can go a long way.
That's interesting. What I'm hearing you say is, use LinkedIn as the conversation starter, but then try to convert it to something in person.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool.
A lot of people are publishing.
I apologize. I interrupted and I talked over you. So could you repeat the last thing you said?
No, we're New Yorkers. We are quick. I would say LinkedIn, people publish. Blogging is another way to make yourself stand out on LinkedIn and network. Someone could read your post and, reply. So I'm always telling people I constantly am telling people, read, and know what's happening in the world.
And I'm going to suggest, folks, that if you write for the LinkedIn publishing platform, and I'll explain in a second where you find it on your homepage. If you write for it, develop a schedule where you're writing for it. So it's not just one article. You sit back and go, 200 people looked at it. That was it. Oh, whoa, this doesn't look like it'll help. My first article had 89 views, and my big one so far has had 33,000 plus. And for me, I write weekly. And I tried twice a week, but that was just too much for my schedule. For me, I write weekly. For many of you, you can do this every other week and minimally every month, publishing something to the platform, sharing it with the people you're connected with, and also sharing it on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn Public and LinkedIn Groups. So, I really encourage you, develop that habit. Now, I also mentioned, I tell you where it is. If you go to the home page, toward the top of the page, there are one of two ways it's located. First of all, there's the thing that kind of looks like a pencil in the search box, and then secondly, there's now a place where they specifically ask you, publish an article. So it's easy to do. I would also say put an image on your post that relates to your article. You can use Google Images to find something relevant. Give it a powerful title, and then right away. It will do a world of good for your career. Sorry, I start to talk again.
No, but that's great advice. Absolutely.
Thank you. So LinkedIn, groups, publishing articles. What else can someone do with LinkedIn that you think has value for beefing up their career in networking?
I always follow companies. Follow companies that you're interested in or passionate about. Follow them on LinkedIn. You can follow them on Twitter. These are ways that you'll be knowledgeable. You'll get insight as to what is happening at the company.
And once you start having that knowledge, are you waiting until job search mode, or are you being proactive and just collecting data even when you're a happy camper?
I always tell people collect data. Be proactive all the time. You know, have a list of companies that you maybe want to work for. There's so many people that are in jobs that are miserable. I have a friend of mine who is working for a company, and she's miserable, and she sits there and complains, and it's a matter of networking and doing something about it.
And putting yourself in the position to be found. I was looking at one LinkedIn profile today. If it had 2 lines per section, that was a lot. And that's not enough, because if you kind of think how you and I use LinkedIn, we're out there keyword searching and trying to find people who have relevant backgrounds, networking to them or sending emails to them. If you don't have the relevant keywords for what we're looking for, how are we going to find you, folks? So LinkedIn gives you a lot of space to write with. It gives you a lot of space for videos that you can include there to really tell your story well. Use it, because otherwise no one finds you and no one has an idea of how excellent you might be.
It's such a valuable tool, and I think a lot of people do not take advantage of it. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, a lot of companies won't even consider you. They won't find you, and they will question your skills if you don't have one.
I know submission process at 2 of my clients, I have to provide a LinkedIn profile or link to the LinkedIn profile. And the reason is they're looking for something, they want to make sure that what the resume says and what the profile says are congruent. If they're incongruent, they're not going to talk to you. So you have to make sure that your profile is consistent with the story that you're telling in your resume. And one example from today, someone sent a resume to me for a storage job, and the resume talks up storage. I go to the LinkedIn profile. He presents himself as a networking person with a little bit of storage. I get a pretty clear picture that what he's doing is overplaying his hand on storage. So I'm not wasting my time. And that just goes to show you, folks, all of us are looking at your LinkedIn profiles to make sure that you're not trying to con us, because there are a lot of folks who are.
That's true. Yep. And I always tell people, go for companies where you're passionate about. If you're going to apply to Facebook and you don't have a Facebook account, you will not get hired.
How does someone not have a Facebook account these days?
What's that?
I was saying, how does someone not have a Facebook or LinkedIn account these days?
I know some people that did not want to have a Facebook account.
Privacy concerns, that they were collecting data, was that it?
Yes, that was it. Yep.
Just curious. So,
yeah.
How does Twitter fit in your thinking?
I am on Twitter. I'm not a huge fan of it. My PR clients, they are all on Twitter. I feel like it's not like a must-have account. I would put my energy more into LinkedIn versus Twitter.
I agree. And it's funny that you mentioned PR, entertainment. There's a particular industries where Twitter is the place to be versus LinkedIn, where the speed of communication is far more important than LinkedIn. And that's where Twitter fits in. But beyond that, as a recruiting tool, I don't find that particularly helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go on Twitter to read interesting articles that sometimes people share. That's about it.
And then I like to follow people at firms that I'm particularly curious about, so that this way I'm able to observe for a while and then reach out with questions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I tell all my candidates, follow companies, competitors, companies you're interested in. I think that's a great feature that LinkedIn offers.
Mm-hmm. So as we start to come up on the end of our time with one another, I want to make sure that we cover any critical points that we haven't spoken about as of yet. Anything I haven't led you to or you haven't had a chance to talk about that makes sense for everyone to know about in the way of networking, either online or in person?
Well, I would say, too, a lot when you're looking for a job, everyone's so focused on getting a job, finding that job. But, ask people for advice. People like to give advice. They like to tell you how they got to their job where they are. Instead of always looking at the end goal of getting a job, just think about the whole picture. And people love to give information. So I think it's a great network tool.
I do too. And for getting advice, for building relationships, which all of us are interested in these days, it's so important to take the time and not be transactional. The criticism that many recruiters have thrown at them time and time again is that they're transactional. They don't really care about me. They just care about getting a fee. And in point of fact, job hunters do the exact same thing or worse. Folks, I'm going to talk about relationships with recruiters. Recruiters can make a huge impact on your career for many years to come. And many of you treat recruiters like vermin. I only want you when I want you, and the rest of the time I'm going to treat you like fungus. You know about jobs that you'll never hear about, and all you have to do is listen for a minute and say, that's interesting, or, thank you, but they're really treating me well here. So I'm going to go to the reminder about building a relationship with search firms, and particular recruiters at search firms, as being pivotal as well. And obviously, Jill and I have a vested interest in this. But at the end of the day, we do know more about job hunting than you do. And just a periodic check-in phone call or an email that says, hi, this is what I'm up to, what's up with you these days, goes a long way toward us remembering you when an opportunity shows up that might make sense for you and your interest. Jill, any thoughts?
No, I'm 100%. I agree with you because we do not have time to keep up with everyone. So it's best, it's always good to keep up with your recruiter and establish a relationship. I mean, a lot of people that I've worked with have become very good friends of mine.
Me too. I've taken guys from junior programmer up to the top of the C-suite in organizations. And it's just involved taking the time with me along the way and me with them to hear about their development, to learn about their development, and make them aware of opportunities that give them a strategic job jump. It takes time and effort. It's not like we're going to take a junior programmer and make them a CIO in 3 weeks. But at the end of the day, folks, don't forget the search firm or search firms that you've spent time working with in this search, and remember to stay in touch with them as well.
Absolutely.
Jill, thank you so much for making time today. How can folks find out about you and the kind of work that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. They can find us online at jillhernstat.com. We've got positions all across the United States. A big focus here in the Bay Area. But,
what kind of positions do you fill?
We do a lot of marketing, PR, communications, and we've moved into IT and human resources. We kind of are more generalists these days. So we've created relationships with our clients that we start with one area and we establish this relationship, and so they have us fill other positions. So it all boils down to relationships.
Shazam!
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect tie-in. Jill, thank you. And folks, we'll be back next time with more advice for you. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and if you enjoyed today's show and you'd like more, come over to my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us, and go exploring. There's a lot there that you can watch, listen to, or read to help you find work more quickly. Also want to mention that if we're not connected on LinkedIn, send a connection request at linkedin.com/IN/the-big-game-hunter. I'll accept a connection request from people anywhere in the world except if you look like a scammer or spammer. And finally, if you like the show, there are plenty more, but I also want to encourage you, give it a thumb up and a great rating in iTunes. It helps other people discover the show, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it. So this is Jeff Altman. Hope you have a great day. Take care.
For more job search advice, visit Jeff's website at thebiggamehunter.us. That's thebiggamehunter.us.